President, please be seated. The court is now back in session. The chamber will now give the floor again to Judge Lavange to respond to the observations made by parties regarding the use of one witness statement to question another witness. And after that, he will continue his line of questioning to this witness. Judge Lavange, you may proceed.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. With respect to the issue of using testimony given by another witness during interrogation of a witness in the stand, I must make it very clear that it is an unfortunate error made on my part. The Chamber does not have any intention to modify its jurisprudence or previous rulings. It wishes to indicate to parties that this concerns TCW 729. The parties are therefore restricted from using the pseudonym that is associated with this particular witness. We also wish to clarify to the parties that in order to avoid any future difficulties, the Chamber does intend to hear from this particular witness so that any constructive questions can be put at that stage. A witness, turning to you now, I have a few more brief questions for you. You indicated that there was a climate of fear that reigned over the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You also indicated that you played the role of providing psychological support. Could you please elaborate on that? What do you mean by your description of the role that you played in calming people's minds? What did you have to calm them? What was the reason for which you had to calm them? Vis-a-vis what kind of fear?
Response. First, let me touch upon the issue of fear by referencing to the actual situation back then. Fear was not particularly meant for that day. Fear started from the beginning. However, with fear, people hate to be vigilant and tries to counter that fear. That was the solution to eliminate the fear. Those who made me feared, and here I'm talking about my own feeling. The fear that I wanted to say is that the case should start it from 000. I was afraid of those who started the trouble, and I found who that person was. So in that sense, I had to work on the psychological issues with those people to inquire about them, that who caused the issue. It was the Cambodian people as a whole, not just for a particular regime. And the second point is that I fear that the Vietnamese would swallow Cambodia. That's my personal feeling. I was fearful because of the two buffaloes, despite of the white and black colors, that we were caused to be in conflict. And that is my elaboration on this point.
Donc, est-ce que vous voulez nous dire que vous...
Therefore, are you telling us that you were afraid because you thought that you would eventually be surrounded by enemies? Did the fear stem from the suspicion that there could be enemies that had infiltrated the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? Or was it fear over the policy that was being led throughout democratic Cambodia?
Response. I believe what I stated is sufficient. I was not afraid of democratic Cambodia. I was afraid of what I stated already.
Alors, il reste une mystérieuse référence.
There seems to be a mysterious reference to case 000. I'm not sure what this refers to. Is this related to the investigation?
Response. The case 000 that I refer to is that I hate my rational thinking and that I compiled a personal document for myself to progress and for the prosperity of my family. However, if this progress has an impact on the world, of course, it is okay. Otherwise, it is just within my family prosperity.
Je voudrais revenir à une de...
I wish to come back to one of your statements, sir. It was made during the hearing of the 24th of April. The co-prosecutor had addressed some questions to you with respect to individuals who had been assigned temporarily to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs before they were being arrested. And in response to that question, do you know the reasons why it was absolutely necessary for them to pass through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? And you replied as follows. I noticed that there were no weapons or arms at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Now, could you please provide us further explanations on the fact that there were no weapons and that there were arrests? You replied that perhaps it was because they trusted me. I looked at you and I noticed that there was not a direct answer that you had given to the question asked of you. You were not asked as to why there were no weapons at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You were being asked why certain individuals had been assigned there temporarily. Do you understand my question?
Response. No, I do not understand your question.
Alors, de façon peut-être plus simple,
To your mind, it's not easier to arrest somebody when one knows that they are in a location where there are no weapons.
Response. Where there was no weapon, I believe it was easier for people to be arrested from that location. This is my understanding.
est-ce que c'était pas la raison pour laquelle
Was that not the reason why those individuals had been assigned to the MFA? Because it was known that they did not possess any weapons.
Response. I made my own analysis, and that is the case.
Alors, quand des arrestations...
When the arrests occurred, were you asked any questions? And what did you reply to calm people down?
Est-ce que les gens avaient peur des arrestations?
Were people afraid over the arrests that were happening?
Response. Yes, they were fearful. The principle was that we had to mind our own business and let others mind their own business. Whether people were taken out, that's their business. Just ignore that. Just don't want to know about other people's affairs. Just focus on our own work. Then we can survive. Because there were accusations at the time floating around. And that's the words that I used to say.
Bien. Une dernière question.
Very well, one last question. When you talked about your uncle at the start of this morning's hearing, there were some remarks made with respect to the societal project. You said that he had constructed a peace project. Is this the correct statement? Is this what you said, or am I mistaken?
Response. You are talking about the social plan and the peace plan. I am really uncertain regarding your question, so I cannot respond. Could you please make your question more precise?
Alors, monsieur le témoin.
In your opinion, what was the intended outcome of your uncle's societal project? Did he envisage a peace project? Is this what you said this morning?
Response. I did not say anything about the peace plan. I said it was a theory where we learn to love ourselves, our nation, and our people, and that we should not violate the nation or the people, and that we should live together peacefully with our neighbors, and that we shall not have any military base in our territory. We want to be neutral and we want to live in peace. That's the words of my uncle that I can recall.
Je vous remercie, monsieur le témoin, pour vos...
Thank you very much, witness, for your answers. Mr. President, I have no further questions.
President, thank you, Judge Lavange. I'd like now to give the floor to Ian Sari's defense team in order to pose questions to this witness. You may take the floor.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors. Good morning, sir, and good morning to everyone in and around the courtroom. Before I begin asking you questions that I had prepared, I want to go back to this case 000 that you just mentioned today and mentioned before. And I understand that you just told us that you had found the person when you were talking about fear in 000. Can you please elaborate so we are clear on what is this case 000? Who is the accused or accused in that case?
Response. I'd like to reiterate, as to my understanding, case 00 is the one who creates the problem. Can you imagine if it doesn't start from 0, how can you reach number 10? This is the question that I ask myself. So you cannot reach number 10 or 20 without starting from number 0, or even the 10,000. You cannot go that far. My father, my mother, and myself, and my parents gave 3 children, and I was the elder, and I was advised by my father that I was the eldest, and how come I could not protect my younger siblings? And that's the idea that has been stuck with me. And that's my personal theory. I did not derive this theory from any communism.
All right. When you're saying that you could not protect your siblings, does that mean that you could not protect them during that period, from 75 to 79? Is that what you're talking about?
Response. What I meant is very general. This is not particular for me, but for the whole world.
I think we will move on then. I want to talk to you a little bit about your background. And as I understand your testimony, you went out to meet your uncle, either in late 67 or 68 or 69. Is that correct?
Response. Could you specify a bit more clearly whether I met him during the war or just met him outside of the war context?
From your testimony, you indicated that you went out to the jungle sometime in 67 or 68. And you've also indicated that it was around 68 or 69 when you were with your uncle, Pol Pot. Is that correct?
But I was with my uncle in a jungle in Ratnakiri.
And from your testimony, as I understand it, you were with your uncle all the way until the fall of Phnom Penh. And that would be 1975, correct?
Yes, it is.
And from the statements that you've given, you've indicated that you were rather close to your uncle during that period of time.
If you compare that to Pong, Pong was more close to him than I was.
We'll get to Pong. Right now, we'll focus on you. Were you close to your uncle?
Allow me to explain this. I said it once and now you ask me again. The word close can have two senses. One, close in terms of family members, and another one is being close in terms of a combatant who was under the authority of the war.
Thank you for that clarification. Well, let's talk about being physically close as opposed to emotionally close. Were you physically close to your uncle, Pol Pot? And if so, what were your tasks during that 6 or 7 year period?
I was always close to him, and I loved him, I worshipped him.
Did you cook for him?
He trusted me, and I prepared food for him. I made the most delicious food for him.
And did he trust you enough so that you could also give him shots?
Monsieur le Président.
President, Mr. Witness, please hold. The International Court Prosecutor, you may proceed.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. President, we didn't hear the beginning of Mr. Carnavas's question. Perhaps he should repeat it and observe a pause after the witness's answer in future.
Apologies. Did you administer any shots to your uncle?
Yes, I did.
Were you his guard as well?
I had mixed jobs. I could not be considered as either a cook, a guard, or a medic. I did what I was told to do. If I was told to drive a motorbike, I would do that. And after that, I would take a rest.
All right. And during that period, could you please tell us how many days a week you were physically close to your uncle? And how many hours a day?
Talking about being close. We're not talking about love issue here. Do not mistaken with that sense. I was close with him due to my duty. Everyone, as a bodyguard, was supposed to be close to him. So given the premise that I was to be present, I must have been close to him. Security guards were to be close to him. Everyone were on guard in order to protect him 24 hours.
All right. And from that answer, can we say that you were 24/7 close to him, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week close to him, based on your answer? Can we draw that conclusion?
But we took turn in order to guard him 24 hours a day.
All right. Now let's talk about how emotionally close you were with your uncle. Can you please describe us that relationship?
I told you that I loved and worshipped my uncle, and I'm sure the word worship has its full meaning. That is, now he died, I prayed for him.
And what about your uncle towards you? Did he love and worship you like a good nephew or a good son?
He educated me, he criticized me a lot. I had both good and bad points. The good points I had included that I have solidarity within the unit.
Did you have access to your uncle when you wanted to see him, that is?
I could not have access to him.
Did you have to go through someone in order to see him when you wanted to see him?
Unless I was on duty. Otherwise I was not supposed to meet him.
Well, you say that he educated you. Did you have educational sessions where he would sit down and give you lessons and talk to you? How was that?
When I was young, he allowed me to sit on his laps. This is the way he educated me. And when we were in the jungle, that was when we struggled. I was never called by him to sit next to him and talk to me again.
All right. Now, from that answer, can we draw any conclusions, such as that he never educated you about what he was thinking or what was in the program of the revolution?
He generally educated me.
Well, did he tell you who was on the standing committee?
He never told me about that.
Did he tell you who was on the central committee?
Nah, nothing.
Did he tell you anything about the structure of the leadership? Who had what authority? What powers? Did he have any of those discussions with you?
No, he did not.
Did he ever explain to you what his particular authority was?
No, he was not that proud.
Did he ever tell you that he took decisions based on some principle of democratic collectivism?
He taught this principle in general.
Did he tell you that that's how he exercised this principle in general?
He did not tell me personally. It was during the study session.
All right. Did he ever invite you to attend any meetings where he was presiding over? And I'm not speaking of study sessions. I'm speaking about meetings that he would have.
Meetings means there were a lot of people participating. If you use the word meetings, it means we had a lot of people participating. Yes, I did participate in such a meeting.
All right. So I take it when a zone leader came up to see him, you would be sitting in on that meeting where your uncle Pol Pot was having discussions with a zone leader.
No, it was not like that. When the zone leader came to meet with him, I did not join that meeting. When I talk about meeting, I refer to the meeting among my levels who were responsible for a particular unit.
Did your uncle ever disclose to you what was being discussed at any of those meetings?
I did attend the meeting at school. As for example, meeting within the unit, that was when I went to live in a zone. It was a central zone, rather a west zone. It was held in a hut and there were ammunitions. I, who was responsible for the list of the ammunition,